The Bible in a year. Day 103. 2 Samuel 1 through 4. After the death of Saul, David returned from his victory over the Amalekites and stayed in Ziklag 2 days. On the third day, a man came from the field of battle, one of Saul's people, with his garment torn and his head covered with dirt. Going to David, he fell to the ground in homage. David asked him, "Where have you come from?" He replied, "From the Israelite camp I have escaped." "What happened?" David said. "Tell me." He answered that the soldiers had fled the battle, and many of them had fallen and were dead, and that Saul and his son Jonathan were dead. Then David said to the youth who was reporting to him, "How did you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead?" The youth reporting to him replied, "I happened to find myself on Mount Gilboa and saw Saul leaning on his spear, with chariots and horsemen closing in on him. He turned around and saw me and called me to him. When I said, 'Here I am,' he asked me, 'Who are you?' And I replied, 'An Amalekite.' Then he said to me, 'Stand over me, please, and put me to death, for I am in great suffering, but still alive.' So I stood over him and put him to death, for I knew that he could not survive his wound. I removed the crown from his head and the armlet from his arm and brought them here to my lord." David seized his garment and tore them, and so did all the men who were with him. They mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the people of the Lord, that the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. David said to the youth who had reported to him, "Where are you from?" He replied, "I am the son of a resident alien, an Amalekite." David said to him, "How is it that you were not afraid to put forth your hand to desecrate the Lord's anointed?" David then called one of the attendants and said to him, "Come, strike him down." So he struck him, and he died. David said to him, "Your blood is on your own head, for you testified against yourself when you said, 'I put the Lord's anointed to death.'" Then David chanted this lament for Saul and his son Jonathan. He commanded that it be taught to the Judahites. It is recorded in the book of Jasher, "Alas, the glory of Israel slain upon your heights. How can the warriors have fallen? Do not report it in Gath as good news in Ashkelon streets. Lest Philistine women rejoice, lest the women of the uncircumcised exult. O mountains of Gilboa, upon you be neither dew nor rain, nor surging from the depths. Defiled there the warriors' shields, the shield of Saul no longer anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the bodies of the warriors, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back, nor the sword of Saul return unstained. Saul and Jonathan, beloved and dear, separated neither in life nor death. Swifter than eagles, stronger than lions, women of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet and finery, or covering your clothing with ornaments of gold. How can the warriors have fallen in the thick of battle? Jonathan slain upon your heights. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. Most dear have you been to me, more wondrous your love to me than the love of women. How can the warriors have fallen? The weapons of war have perished. After this, David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I go up into one of the cities of Judah?" The Lord replied to him, "Go up." Then David asked, "Where shall I go?" He replied, "To Hebron." So David went up there with his two wives, Ahinoam and Jezreel, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal of Carmel. David also brought up his men with their families, and they dwelt in the towns of Hebron. Then the men of Judah came there and anointed David king over the house of Judah. A report reached David that the people of Jabesh Gilead had buried Saul. So David sent messengers to the people of Jabesh Gilead, and said to them, May you be blessed by the Lord for having done this kindness to your lord Saul and bearing him. And now may the Lord show you kindness and fidelity. For my part, I will show generosity to you for having done this. So take courage and prove yourselves valiant. For though your lord Saul is dead, the house of Judah has anointed me king over them. Abner, son of Ner, captain of Saul's army, took Ishbaal, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, where he made him king over Gilead, the Asherites, Jezreel, Ephraim, Benjamin, and the rest of Israel. Ishbaal, son of Saul, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel, and he reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. In all, David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah 7 years and 6 months. Now Abner, son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbaal, Saul's son, set out from Mahanaim for Gibeon. Joab, son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David also set out and encountered them at the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, one group on one side of the pool and the other on the opposite side. Then Abner said to Joab, Let the young men rise and perform for us. Joab replied, All right. So they rose and were counted off, 12 of the Benjaminites of Ishbaal, son of Saul, and 12 of David's servants. Then each one grasped his opponent's head and thrust his sword into his opponent's side, and they all fell down together. And so that place was named the Field of the Sides, and it is in Gibeon. The battle that day was very fierce, and Abner and the men of Israel were defeated by David's servants. The 3 sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. Asahel, who was as fleet of foot as a gazelle in the open field, set out after Abner, turning neither right nor left in his pursuit. Abner turned around and said, Is that you, Asahel? He replied, Yes. Abner said to him, Turn right or left, seize one of the young men, and take what you can strip from him. But Asahel would not stop pursuing him. Once more Abner said to Asahel, Stop pursuing me. Why must I strike you to the ground? How could I show my face to your brother Joab? Still he refused to stop, so Abner struck him in the abdomen with the heel of his spear, and the weapon protruded from his back. He fell there and died on the spot. All who came to the place where Asahel had fallen and died halted, but Joab and Abishai continued the pursuit of Abner. The sun had gone down when they came to the hill of Ammah, which lies east of the valley toward the wilderness near Geba. Here the Benjaminites rallied around Abner, forming a single group, and made a stand on a hilltop. Then Abner called to Joab and said, Must the sword devour forever? Do you not know that afterward there will be bitterness? How long before you tell the people to stop pursuing their brothers? Joab replied, As God lives, if you had not spoken, it would be morning before the people would be stopped from pursuing their brothers. Joab then sounded the horn, and all the people came to a halt, pursuing Israel no farther and fighting no more. Abner and his men marched all night long through the Arabah, crossed the Jordan, marched all through the morning, and came to Mahanaim. Joab, coming in pursuit of Abner, assembled all the men. 19 other servants of David were missing, besides Asahel. But David's servants had struck down and killed 360 men of Benjamin, followers of Abner. They took up Asahel and buried him in his father's tomb in Bethlehem. Joab and his men made an all-night march, and dawn found them in Hebron. There followed a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, in which David grew ever stronger, but the house of Saul ever weaker. Sons were born to David in Hebron. The firstborn, Amnon of Ahinoam from Jezreel. The second, Chileab of Abigail, the wife of Nabal of Carmel. The third, Absalom of Maacah, who was the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. The fourth, Adonijah, son of Haggith. The fifth, Shephatiah, son of Abital. And the sixth, Ithream, by David's wife Eglah. These were born to David in Hebron. During the war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner was gaining power in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine, Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, and Ishbaal, son of Saul, said to Abner, "Why have you slept with my father's concubine?" Enraged at the words of Ishbaal, Abner said, "Am I a dog's head from Judah? As of today, I have been loyal to the house of Saul, your father, to his brothers and his friends, and I have kept you out of David's clutches. And today you charge me with a crime involving a woman. May God do thus to Abner and more if I do not carry out for David what the Lord swore to him. That is, take away the kingdom from the house of Saul and establish the throne of David over Israel, as well as Judah, from Dan to Beersheba." Ishbaal was no longer able to say a word to Abner. He feared him so.